Also, let's look at what Americans are feeling about the war in Ukraine. Kim and Pete, or Vladimir and Volodymyr. This is, of course, by a friend of the show, Maureen Dowd, who wrote yet another absolute fucking banger. Can I just say, oh my God, dude. I need like a sound alert for this. You know what I mean? Like, I need like a beep, 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 beep.
I can't deal with these ads anymore.
Here. That's a certified banger, baby. That's right. That's a certified New York Times banger alert. Kim and Pete, or Vladimir and Volodymyr. Okay? Maureen Dowd, an opinion columnist for the New York Times opinion section. Okay? If you were thinking like, how can the New York Times opinion section get worse at what they fucking do? Well, you know, this is it. Here it is. I mean,
wow, 18 months.
I was expecting this for like the slap, you know, the Will Smith slap shit, but now we're at the fucking, now we're back at the Kim and Pete section of the conversation. So please, Kim Kardashian, don't elope with Pete Davidson. This is what Maureen Dowd is writing, okay? Maureen Dowd, sponsored by Kanye West, wrote this article, allegedly. We're already distracted by the wonder of Ketanji Brown Jackson and the blunder of Will Smith, the arrival of dreamy spring days, and the return of dreaded mask rules. If we get one more shiny object to contemplate, I fear our support for Ukraine might waver. Do we have the attention span to stay focused on the Russian descent into pure evil? I'm just gonna keep, every time she just says it, I'm gonna blast off like that. Banger, certified banger. Don't do it, Kim, because I will not be able to stop paying attention to Ukraine. First of all, they don't. America's already moved on. Okay, like the average American is moved on. It's too short of an attention span. That's just how it works. Okay. If we get one more shiny object, with the brutal methods perfected in other conflicts, the Russians are committing even ever more brazen atrocities. They are raping and killing civilians. On Friday, they struck fleeing civilians in a train station in eastern Ukraine, where a missile, psychopathically labeled "for our children," killed at least 50 people and wounded nearly 100. Why do they need to hit civilians with missiles? Why this cruelty? Volodymyr Zelensky asked the Finnish parliament on Friday, adding, "Sometimes you think whether they are human at all." He pleaded, hatred has to lose. But are we moving on? Moving on, after all, is the favorite American activity, and technology has exacerbated our twitchy consciousness and sensationalist culture. Maureen, my sister in Christ, you built the media infrastructure that creates immediate fucking boom bust cycles, okay? That you're playing a role in it. America created this fucking this PR cycle, this PR reliant, outrage reliant media cycle. Of course they're going to move on. Americans know how to fucking move on from conflicts like that. They've been trained, they've been conditioned. Literally the entire fucking history of the war on terror is about moving the fuck on. You are writing this article as a consequence of moving the fuck on. You're moving on right now with this article. Let's continue. We now live in a world with nothing but distractions, with a blizzard of stimuli. Also, what would happen if you, I don't know, focused your efforts more on what's going on in Ukraine? Like if you were watching what's going on in Ukraine more, harder, what are you gonna do? What are Americans gonna do? What does the average American do in this situation if they're like, oh man, I need to watch, Ukraine's getting butchered. Ukraine is getting butchered at the hands of Russians every fucking day. What? Are you going to tweet? Are you going to tweet Russians into submission? What? Are you going to vote? You're going to vote harder, dude? We have nothing. We have no power. At this point, it's like we have a semblance of democracy that's not real. And on the other side, you have, in this proxy war, on the other side, you have a singular, I can't even say it's an oligarchy anymore. It's just like a super centralized authoritarian leader doing whatever the fuck he wants to do. What's up? how are we gonna deal with this? And in the middle, you got Ukrainians who are just fucking getting blasted for no fucking reason. They're just in the way. But what are Americans gonna do? People can donate. I mean, sure, but donate to what? More weapons? We're sending weapons nonstop, and that's without Americans paying attention or not. What is it, like $2 billion worth of weapons so far with a $10 billion assurance and commitment? You know what I mean? But trends are transient by definition. American attention goes from transient to transient to transient, a lifetime of ephemera. We used to have thought leaders, and now we have influencers. Is a cognitive challenge. Oh, God. We used to have thought leaders, and now we have influencers. Yeah, totally, because, our thought leaders were so smart back in the day. It's a cognitive challenge, but can we find ways to keep our attention on things that require our attention? Do we have any mental discipline at all? What is this? What is the mental discipline? I need to understand, like, what Maureen Dowd is saying here. What are you, like... I think there's this very weird attitude that Americans have where they literally think their posts are like winning the war. You know what I mean? I think that's where this is coming from. It's like we need to post harder. We need to post harder to fucking fight Russia. Like we need to keep focusing on the war, which we do every day. And I knew that this was going to happen. I told you this from the jump when it first popped off. I was like, listen, I covered the news. No matter what, I cover the news when on the off days. I cover the news on high notes. I cover the news when it's usually the low notes. Okay, but most people, and you also watch the news. You come in here to learn about what's going on in the fucking world. But most people don't give a shit. It's just the reality. Okay, and I was right. People have already moved on. People have moved on to different things that are going on. Consider climate change. We can stick with our concern when California and Colorado are burning to a crisp, but then the fires burn out and we move on to the next thing, the next trend. Crises are not trends. Look at the energy independence. We dwell on it when Saudi Crown Prince sends a team to dismember Jamal Khashoggi or when Vladimir Putin shows what a monster he is in Ukraine. But when the fickleness of our attention span kicks in, high gas prices, make peace with the monsters. Biden needs to make up with Saudi Arabia or China will gain. Read the headline on Karen Elliott's house's piece in the Wall Street Journal. I love that. That's at least more honest. Like this right here is more honest. They don't even give a shit about peace from the point of view of like ending the senseless bloodshed occurring and trying to stop Russia from murdering more Ukrainians, right? They've basically, like, Wall Street Journal at least is a little bit more honest about it, where they're just like, yeah, we need to stop this nonsense because China is gaining momentum and Saudi Arabia is gaining momentum. It's like, first and foremost, energy independence. The fuck do you think Chevron, Exxon, Shell, what do you think they do? You think our fucking oil giants, our gas and oil giants aren't, one, simultaneously collaborating with the OPEC plus nations, obviously, okay? Two, gouging the American people on the fucking home front. And three, more importantly than that, in an endless effort to extract more oil from the fucking ground internationally, engaging in the exact same bloody conflict that Russia engages in. You just don't cover it in the fucking New York Times. When an American oil and gas provider gives money to rebels in Nigeria to create volatility and instability in an effort to force the Nigerian leadership's hand, okay, and bring them to the bargaining table. That's still senseless bloodshed. Okay? That's still senseless bloodshed. That's not, our oil is not independent and good. Our oil is still bloody. Okay? It's bloody as fuck. It's so stupid. This idea that like, oh, our oil is clean from the blood. Yeah, no, the Iraq war didn't happen, by the way. It just never happened. Not a thing. Our oil is ethically sourced, dude. Sure, certainly. To add to the distraction, Putin creates his own alternative reality in Russia, as Donald Trump does here, with those susceptible to his lies. The Russians denied skirting the train station in eastern Ukraine. They claim the Ukrainians are blowing themselves up. Yeah, literally a tactic directly taken out of, by the way, the American textbook of waging war. American textbook of waging endless, imperialist, bloodthirsty war. That is, Russia is literally fucking carbon copying what we do, motherfucker. You will never hear that from Maureen Dowd, of course. Oof. I called Jaron Lanier, known as the father of virtual reality, to ask him about this. What? It takes a lot of energy to process a big lie compared to a little lie. And so the big lie actually has a better chance of sailing through. He said this from his home in Berkeley, California. I think in the same sense, just the degree of atrocity and evil is hard for us to process. He shared his philosophy that throughout history, when politics, culture, and technology get too fancy and theoretical, they tend to lose staying power and brutality breaks through. The Bolsheviks had this... What? The Bolsheviks had this tremendously sophisticated, fancy rhetoric and all these complicated ideas, Lanier said. They were building their own socioeconomics. Then basically what happened is Stalin came in and said, no, it's really just about violence and domination, and screw all that. Yeah. No, totally. Like, centralization or collectivization, industrialization in an otherwise agrarian society, and the necessity for said industrialization and the speed in which it needed to happen as a consequence of World War II was certainly not a factor into consideration. It's just a tad bit reductive, but hey, you know, whatever. Fuck it, YOLO. I mean, Stalin was a brutal fucking dude, okay? Straight up. Not a joke, but you know, there was also some, it wasn't just like, hello, I'm Stalin. I love being brutal and violent. It's fucking sick. It's poggers. I think the current wave of populism has that character, Lanier added. Han Ushildak, thank you for the 51 gifted subs. What the fuck? Has that character. Lanier added, the ever finer gradations of thought on all kinds of issues like gender and intersectionality and this theory and that theory, it's so sophisticated it requires a lot of patience. It's too inbred to be robust. So this very crude thing comes in. What? Dude, what the fuck? Wait. What?
What's your thoughts on Boris meeting Zelensky today?
Dude, liberals like examining history is always wonderful, I think. Unless this dude is just straight up saying like we must embrace dialectical materialism, and Stalin actually was revisionist in a different way, and his applications of Marxist-Leninist principles were wrong, and he's just spitting. He's just saying, you know, embrace Maoist thought. My man is to the left of Stalin. That's what he's saying. He's like, this is unacceptable. He's a Trotskyite in the New York Times. Not even he's not a Maoist. He's a Trotskyite. Okay, yeah, he said permanent revolution, international communism. This needs to continue. This we must wage war. America, he's an American trot. Okay. Okay. Let's continue without deviating further. I think the current wave of populism has a character, so this very crude thing comes in. There's more and more sophisticated talk about how we're going to do blockchain, non-fungible tokens. Bro, the average American doesn't give a fuck about this shit, dude. What the fuck are you talking about? What is this? Like, this is so self-centered around, like, the media bubble and, like, fucking DC weirdos and, like, all the people that spend all their time on fucking Reddit and Twitter. What the fuck? Yeah, dude. People in the Appalachians are always like, yeah, man, I know, like... I don't know if I'll ever get another paycheck, and my entire family died because of fucking, you know, opiates that doctors prescribe. But actually, I am really confused by this non-fungible token and cryptocurrency stuff. That's what's happening. I'm personally of the belief that this very fancy approach to technology is headed in the same direction as cultures or politics that get too fancy and too full of themselves. Basically, the Russians came in and said, screw all your ideas. We're just going to brutally take this stuff over and use it for power. Putin's psychological operatives looked at that stuff we do on social media and said, we'll just step in and use that to weaken you. We don't care about these ideas. I think ideals are great, but idealists who get too involved with their own sense of getting more sophisticated to perfect their schemes, I think it reverts to brutality. As he got off the phone, Linier offered one note of optimism about Trump, Putin, and their ilk. One of the great truths of history is that the great deceivers also deceive themselves. We live in a world of easy deceit and endless distractions. Solidarity with Ukraine is trending now, but will it last? Real solidarity is not a trend. It's a commitment. Can the Ukrainians count on us, or are we going to let them down as our attention wanders? Yo, this is so fucking stupid, okay? Because our attention has nothing to do with Ukraine. It never had anything to do with Ukraine. This idea that, like, us paying attention to what's going on in Ukraine would somehow dictate American foreign policy is laughable. It is so fucking stupid. Okay? Like, I don't know how else to describe. I don't know what else to say about it. And I say this as someone who does pay attention to Ukraine pretty much 24/7. I cover this all the time. We in this community have raised money. We are routinely covering every single thing that happens every single fucking day. And I say this as with all of my heart, okay? With all honesty, Americans, whether they actually gave a shit and covered it all fucking day or not, have no way to dictate what happens in Ukraine. Okay? What the fuck is this? Is activism not promoting solidarity? Trillbilly said the mayor of the town in Kentucky where the crypto mining is in, he shot at it in the middle of the bite for being too loud. In the middle of the night for being too loud. That's awesome. Sorry, but what the fuck are you talking about? Because I don't follow. Like, this is a call to this is a call to, in the most like clickbaity way possible, I guess, make Maureen Dowd get more coverage in the media. Okay? That's it. This is purely written so that with this dumbass title and dumbass fucking photo, specifically so people talk about how stupid it is. And I'm doing it right now. I'm literally fucking, giving into that. And not only that, but also, this is actually taking attention away from Ukraine. If our attention on Ukraine was in any way, shape, or form remotely meaningful with what happens in Ukraine, and it wasn't just completely like multiple layers of power removed from the average citizen's interests, wishes, knowledge, okay? If we somehow had a way to dictate what happens, that American foreign policy, we somehow actually had like some form of direct democracy, and we could dictate what America does in Ukraine, then this article would be taking our attention away from it as well.